Welcome to FOXSOUL's Black Report. This is the space where we bring you Black America's headline news, views, and opinions. I'm Romeo.
Hey there, I'm Brooke.
I'm Demi.
Peace and love, soulmates. I'm Nielle.
All right, on today's report, former President Barack Obama says Republicans are systematically preventing people from voting. And media pioneer Cathy Hughes is here to talk about why she wants people to get out and vote in Virginia.
The city of Carson, California has a weird smell, and Los Angeles County Supervisor Holly Mitchell joins us to discuss what the county is doing about it. A new study reveals just how much police use force against children of color, and we'll tell you why Black fathers in Shreveport, Louisiana are making headlines.
Soulmates, we have that and so much more because it's our voice and it's our truth, so let's talk about it.
Hey there, soulmates. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Monday. Let's get right to our top story. Former President Barack Obama says the upcoming gubernatorial race in Virginia determines the future of the state and sets an example for the entire nation. Take a look at this.
All across the country, Democrats are trying to make it easier to vote, not make it harder to vote, and push back on Republicans who are trying to systematically prevent ordinary citizens from making their voices heard.
Former president there, he was in Virginia over the weekend urging voters to come out in droves and vote for Democratic nominee Terry McAuliffe. The Hill reports new poll results released just today show McAuliffe and Republican Glenn Youngkin are locked in a tied race nearly 1 week out from Election Day. The Washington Post reports as former President Obama, you see, campaigned for McAuliffe, Youngkin has actually been avoiding questions about whether former President Trump will join him on the campaign trail, although the most recent outgoing president has endorsed him multiple times. Bloomberg reporting Saturday's early voting toll set at 665,734. That, by the way, is nearly 4 times the turnout in 2017.
All right, I think that story, Obama being out this weekend in New Jersey, as well as Virginia, sends a clear message that people need to really pay attention to what's happening right now in this country as it relates to voting. He said that our voting rights are being infringed upon, especially people of color. So I think that this sends a clear message that we're going to have a long handle for the 2020 midterms, and that now, you know, all eyes are on Virginia. What do you guys think?
Well, I agree. And I'll say it like this. At the end of the day, we know what's been going on since the 2020 election. We know the midterms are coming. And we also know what the Republican side is trying to do. They're trying to say, hey, you know what? Let's put more restrictions. Like, let's make it harder to get that vote, make that vote count. We have to stick to our grind, stick to our goals, saying, look, we're going to get out there. We're going to communicate, whether it's through social media, whether it's through town hall meetings. Let's get together and say, look, we're going to make sure our vote counts, and we're going to try and make sure we all do it responsibly, too, at the same time.
You know, I want to talk about the early voting turnout because obviously the numbers today are a bit different than what we saw Saturday. But it is interesting. On one hand, you have a lot of political pundits saying, hey, it's not fair to compare 2017's numbers to 2021's numbers. It would be more fair to take a look at 2020, compare that to 2017. But it is interesting that back in 2017 in the state of Virginia, it was much harder to vote. And that is, of course, part of a larger conversation that we're having about access to the polls. It was incredibly hard compared to this year to vote in the state of Virginia. Much easier right now post-pandemic and many of the changes happening under the current governor. And look at the turnout.
I just love that Barack Obama, we always talk a lot about what Michelle Obama has been doing, but I love that Barack Obama reaching back, because not every president does this, reaches back and, you know, pours into the community. Well, we also don't have any other Black presidents to speak of, but I just love that he's still using his power because he knows that he still has an influence in the Black community. We still consider him our president.
Right.
So I love seeing him reach back and you know, go to the community, and because we're going to need everything in our bag, everything at our disposal, every resource that we have to make sure that our community goes out and votes in droves, in highest numbers, keep those numbers high like we did last time, and we wanted to bring in Biden.
All right. Now, Brooke, you brought up early voting, and early voting is underway across Virginia. And in Richmond, residents will also decide by November 2nd whether Silver Springs, Maryland-based Urban One can establish its proposed $560 million One Casino plus resort in the city. Now, Urban One CEO Alfred Liggins has high hopes for what could be the nation's only majority Black-owned casino and resort. So joining us now to discuss Urban One's plans to establish this casino is Chairwoman of Urban One, media pioneer Cathy Hughes. Welcome to the Black Report.
Thank you so much. You know I'm proud of you, girl, right?
Yes, I'm so honored. I'm so honored to be doing a one-on-one with Miss Cathy Hughes.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're trying to make history once again. They were going to, Virginia approved, the state legislature approved 5 different casinos. They were not going to allow Richmond to have a competitive bidding process. They were just going to give the contract to some wealthy white billionaires. And when we became aware of it, we sounded the alarm, and the Black community has come together. We have 60 Black local investors. We're financing the entire project. There's no city money, no state money. Most people don't know Richmond, Virginia is the #1 city in the country for craft beer. All of the beers are subsidized by either the state or the city. Same thing with marijuana approval. However, we are financing this totally, and we are facing some of the most fierce opposition that we have ever seen. The other 4 licenses went through referendum, basically no opposition. We have showing in the polls a same 50-50 chance that Terry McCullough has with a Trumper, Mr. Youngkin.
Now, you have been at the forefront of voting, so we know that you have an investment in Virginia, but we know that before Urban One, Radio One, you know, tons of Black radio stations all across the country, that you are an advocate for empowering Black people in the community. So I want to talk to you about what you're doing in Virginia. So talk about how you've been working to get out the vote in Richmond.
Well, I've been trying to get Black people to the polls because when it's not a presidential year, Black turnout is very light. Now, it's easier this year in Virginia because of the lifting of in-person restrictions. Early voting is really easy in Virginia. But the reality is the issue is being really lied about. The same way with Terry McCullough on the referendum that we're trying to get passed. They're saying that the jobs aren't real. It's going to take 3,000 jobs to build this entertainment complex. It's going to take 1,500 brand new jobs to maintain it. And this just isn't at a casino. Our dream was an entertainment complex. There are no entertainment complexes in the country that are owned by African Americans. Yet when you look at the list of Black billionaires, all of them made their money in the entertainment industry, whether it's Oprah and her show, which comes under the category of entertainment, or whether it's Jay-Z or Kanye West. The entertainment industry does not have an entertainment complex built and managed and owned by African Americans. So we are trying everything we possibly can to explain to our community, to our people, that if you're familiar with the 1619 Project, you know that slaves were brought to Virginia 1 year before the Mayflower ever left port with white people on it. We were already here building Richmond, Virginia. So first we raised the protest of allowing Black people to at least be in a competitive bidding situation. We won the bid. Well, that did not please white people, quite frankly, who are already in the gaming industry. It's ridiculous that in this day and time, it's like with sports teams. There are no Black-owned casinos, no Black-owned entertainment complex in the entire United States. The entertainment industry could not exist without African Americans.
I mean, and nobody knows that better than you, Miss H. So let's talk about why this had to be a ballot measure. I mean, sometimes people just get approval from city electeds or commissioners. They sign off, and then you see these buildings erected. Why did this one casino have to be a ballot measure?
Because that's the way the state legislature set it up. Once we made them change the fact and made it a bidding competitive situation. All right, before they were just going to award it. And we're like, no, not in a city that's predominantly African American. You need to give but we've been in this market with Radio One for 22 years. This is the tragedy, Neil. If the Black community does not come out and vote, or if they vote no, a majority no vote, this opportunity is set in concrete by the state legislature. So it means the Black folks in Richmond, Virginia will not get this economic empowerment opportunity. It will go to another predominantly majority white city. All right, that's why it's so important for them to turn out and vote. And yet, so many ministers are saying, well, you know, it's an entertainment complex. How are you going to say whether or not entertainment complex is immoral? What's immoral is Black men not being able to feed their children. What's immoral is Black women having to sell their bodies in order to educate their children. That's what's immoral, not whether or not a person decides they want to go to a live concert. In addition to all of the other things that normally come along with the casino, the live shows and all the rest, we're building a sound stage. We are going to move all of our production of movies and television shows for our two cable networks, TV One and Clio TV, to Richmond as part of the complex. We have a 15,000 square foot sound stage in the plans.
Wow, that sounds so powerful and empowering for the Black community. So you talked about the preachers are a little hesitant. What has been the general consensus in the Richmond, Virginia area as it relates? You've been out in the community. I follow you. I see you out there having people sign the referendum. What has been your response that you've seen the response been for this?
The tragedy is broken down. It's become a Black-white issue. 70% of all Black people are opposed to it. 60% of all Black people are in favor of it. It's become a Black versus white issue because the jobs where we're locating the casino is in the heart of the most impoverished Black area in Richmond. We are buying 100+ acres from Philip Morris. Philip Morris is now Altria. Well, thousands of Black folks used to work for Philip Morris making cigarettes. Altria is still making those same cigarettes, but they make them with robots now. So you're talking an impoverished area like I have never seen this amount of public housing in any city. This city is only 230,000 people. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, where it's 450,000 people, and we didn't have a tenth of the public housing. I grew up in public housing, as you know, Niamh. Okay, I've never seen this many projects in my entire life. That's the poverty level. So we are locating this right in the heart of the ghetto, right in the heart of where Black folks used to work, not butting up against any churches, no schools, no residential area. We're putting it in an industrial area right on I-95, which is our 405, okay, on the, right. All right, and people will pass right by one exit, come down, at the foot of the exit will be an entertainment complex with a park, 55-acre public park that we will have security patrol, so you can sit out there and watch the stars at night and not be worried about someone doing a drug deal or molesting you. So many aspects to this. And yet so many even Black folks have been sold a bill of goods that they don't want this. Tim Kaine, an outstanding who, you know, was considered to be a vice presidential candidate, okay, bragged about voting no, saying that it was morally objectionable to him. How could Senator Tim Kaine say that giving 1,500 jobs to Black folks be morally objectionable? It does not make sense. We don't understand it. And we think that the term moral objection is being used to camouflage old-fashioned paternalism and racism. And that's tragic because it's costing. Terry McCullough has come out. He's told people, you got to vote for this. Not a penny is coming from the city or state. We are financing all of this through some of your hard work over the years in Radio One. This is Urban One Resources. This city will receive $50 million off the top every single solitary year. We've guaranteed them $500 million. No tax increase. They won't even be establishing or installing a street light. We are paying for everything. And they're saying that they don't want to do it. Why? But yet, because it's state mandated, if they don't do it in Richmond, a majority Black city is going to go to a majority white city. And that is unconscionable. particularly since 1619, Black folks have been building Richmond, Virginia.
I mean, I think you said it best. That's why I thought it was so important to have you come and speak about this so that all of our soulmates would know what you're doing in Richmond, Virginia. So for those who want to bring one casino resort to a reality, you will vote yes. And the question will appear on the ballot for voters registered in Richmond, whether voting in person or by next Tuesday.
On the back of the ballot, Nia.
The back of the ballot?
The back freaking ballot, just like the back of the bus. I haven't made it any further than the back of the bus in Mississippi now to the back of the ballot. We're on the back of the ballot. So in addition to telling people go vote, we got to explain to them to turn the ballot over. Because I can't tell you how many hundreds of Black people have been saying, you're not even on the ballot. Where are you? We're on the back of the ballot. That's where we are.
Well, you heard it from Miss Cathy Hughes. Thank you so much, Miss Hughes, for coming and sharing this story with us. It's so important.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll talk soon.
Representative Benny Thompson, great interview too, by the way, Neil. Representative Benny Thompson, the chairman of the House committee investigating the January 6th riot at the Capitol, said on Sunday that there was no question that it was a premeditated attack. CBS's Face the Nation played a portion of former Trump strategist Steve Bannon's podcast where he could be heard saying this.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. It's going to be moving. It's going to be quick. And all I can say is strap in. The War Room, a posse. You have made this happen, and tomorrow it's game day.
The remarks from the chairman come as the House voted last week to hold Bannon in contempt after he refused to comply with giving a deposition, effectively snubbing their subpoena. So Rolling Stone put out a exclusive interview earlier this morning that was just so juicy to read if you get a chance to read it. So it's on Rolling Stone, and there's two sources that pretty much go dive deep into why they felt so safe to riot at the Capitol. So a few things. They were, of course, they spoke in anonymity, so because it's still an ongoing investigation, but they pretty much said that it was dozens of people that were like at the top of this planning, and that there were like dozens of briefings that went on before the day of. They also said that there were all those campaigns that happened around it, all of those were planned. Like there was this big, top dog, and everything kind of like came on together. It was all wrapped in together. They also said that they received assurance that they were going to have blanket pardons. So they all thought that the President Trump was in on it, that he knew that everybody's name that was out there, that once their name came up, they were going to be able to get a pardon, and all water was going to be under the bridge. And so I just thought that was really interesting. I don't have time to go into all of it, but if you get a chance, it's on Rolling Stone and released today, and it is just so juicy because of course it's what we already knew, but it just lets you know these two people, they're like, hey, we thought we were going to be totally taken care of. So because I was wondering, why would someone be so comfortable doing something like this, but they thought they were good.
Yeah, I think hearing that is very disturbing. You hear the tone in his voice, how excited he was about what was going to happen that day. Come to find out, we all saw what happened that day. Lives were lost. People's lives have changed forever. A lot of people were hurt. This was having war within ourselves on our own soil. So that's a problem. And, I'm glad this podcast, him saying that in the moment could come back and bite him. And we already know that. And it sounds like it may just do that.
Right. And I think it's important that these two people that were speaking with Rolling Stone said that the GOP lawmakers knew about it. So they all colluded together from the White House to Capitol Hill. We're talking about Republicans. They all colluded to make this happen on January 6th. And they set these people up. And I've said it before. When we get to the center of this investigation, Steve Bannon and Donald Trump are going to be at the center of it, along with Stephen Miller. Like I said before, Steve Bannon created the Trumpsters. It started at Bartbright when he had that website and he was pushing out all of that propaganda, and those individuals became what became Trump supporters and elected him into office. Those are the same people that were at the Capitol on January 6th. Those are the same people. There is a trial going on right now in Charlottesville about what happened with the protest in Charlottesville when that poor girl lost her life with the tikis and the khakis. Remember that? And the statue and Robert E. Lee. All of that is connected. And if you follow the dots, follow the dots, follow the paper trail, it's all going to be connected to the White House when Donald Trump was in office, to Steve Bannon, Stephen Miller, and possibly Donald Trump's family.
You know, I want to double back on what the two, Demi and Neil, have both been touching on, because I think everyone read this article this morning and kind of sat with it for a second, because at least these two sources, and what is most important, I think, about this interview is that according to these two sources, this is information and documents that they've already shared with the January 6th investigative committee, saying that they had planning meetings with sitting members of Congress. And it takes you back to what Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said a little bit after this happened, and how she said she was terrified, right? Remember, she said she was terrified. She said that she didn't feel safe with her colleagues. She didn't feel safe with the officers around her, with security. She did not feel safe. She did not feel like her staff was safe. We also know that her office was decimated, like many other offices. But that is going to be something that we are going to continue to watch. These two sources, Rolling Stone is protecting their identities, as Demi noted. And so not giving us as many specifics as they could, as they say they could, again, in an effort to protect their identities, because this is all ongoing. But that is going to be something that everybody is watching, because this is one of the first, at least, hey, direct, someone says this is what happened, that we're saying sitting members of Congress were involved in this. And so I'm very interested to see where this goes. But I also understand many people at home watching this are saying, it is October.
Right. It's so funny. Church folks say there's a leak in this old building. There's a leak in that Republican Party related to that January 6th, and it's going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to bust. Just keep watching.
Definitely more to come from that story for sure. All right, finding jurors to sit in the trial for the 3 men charged in Ahmaud Marbury's killing is proving difficult in the Glenn County, Georgia courtroom, where jury selection began this week. Hundreds of people have been summoned, and from the 60 people who have been questioned since Monday, many said they have already formed strong opinions about the case. They point to potential consequences specific verdicts may have on the community. Those picked will be tasked with deciding whether Gregory McMichael, his son Travis McMichael, and their neighbor William Bryan Jr. are guilty of malice and felony murder. The defendants, who have pleaded not guilty, also face charges of aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and criminal attempt to commit false imprisonment. You think about this, waking up every day, ever since this happened, we all saw the video. We think this should be a knockdown case, but that's why they summon certain juries. That's why they do the whole selection, because it's a process. And there could be a slight chance where they get off and they're not found guilty, even though we saw what we saw. And people fear that. People fearing, like, whether we say they're guilty or not, how is my life? Could it change? Could it be threatening moving forward? But we all know what we saw, and those men should definitely be behind bars for a very long time, if not for life.
Absolutely, Romeo. I agree with you. Everything from the video down to what happened with this, the waters have seemed murky. So a couple of things that happened over the weekend, the last few days. There were 2 jurors that got that were excused from the jury pool. One, I want to let you know, was juror 408, who was the second cousin to Ahmaud's father, Marcus Sr. So then juror 411 knew Ahmaud for several months before his death, and they considered him too close. So that was, okay, those were close people to Ahmaud. They were excused. But Lee Merritt tweeted earlier today, the court qualified a juror that worked with Greg McMichael for former Glenn County prosecutor Jackie Johnson, who also has been indicted for her role in Ahmaud Arbery's murder. So it's so interesting. People that are remotely too close to Ahmaud were excused, but then you have people who were kind of close to the defendants here. They're getting qualified. And I don't know. I think everything about this, I feel like they did a really good job at making sure the jurors were properly selected for Derek Chauvin's murder trial. With this case, I'm not too sure. I'm a little nervous about how things are looking right now.
Well, civil rights attorney Lee Merritt will be joining us tomorrow on FOXSOUL's Black Report, so we'll get some tea from him.